They say when you fall in love, the world becomes warmer. But for me it grew cold. It started with small things, little oddities I told myself were nothing. The lights in my bedroom would flicker for no reason, even when the bulb was new. My phone screen once turned on by itself at 3 a.m., glowing with static before going black again. I felt it then, the weight of something unseen in the room with me. I thought I was just tired, overworked, maybe a little too emotionally raw from falling so deeply for Daniel. He was everything I'd wanted, kind, smart, gentle. When he smiled at me, the world seemed to pause. I trusted him. I gave him all of me. But even as our relationship blossomed, the shadows deepened. The mirror in my hallway cracked one night, without a sound or touch. I found it the next morning, a clean fracture down the middle, splitting my reflection in two. Then the dreams began. In them, I stood in an unfamiliar room, surrounded by old wallpaper and broken glass. A voice would call my name, not Daniel's voice. Girls. Sad, soft and desperate. Sometimes she would just whisper. He lied to me too. I'd wake up drenched in cold sweat, heart hammering. I never told Daniel. I didn't want to seem crazy. Love can do strange things to the mind, I thought. But somewhere inside me I knew, this wasn't me unraveling. It was something else. Watching. Waiting. And it had been with me since the day I met him. I should have seen the signs. I met Daniel on a gray Thursday afternoon, the kind where the sky feels heavy and your heart aches for no reason. I was at a used bookstore downtown, flipping through a worn copy of Jane Eyre when he asked if I'd recommend it. He had a soft voice, the kind that made you lean in to hear more. His smile was boyish, but his eyes carried something deeper. I laughed, told him it was one of my favorites, and before I could close the book, he had invited me for coffee. What started as casual conversation over espresso turned into hours that felt like minutes. We talked about everything: literature, philosophy, childhood dreams. He was smart without being arrogant, charming without trying. I'd been on dates before, but nothing had ever clicked like this. Within weeks, we were inseparable. He'd leave notes on my windshield, bring me flowers for no reason, cook dinner on rainy nights. Felt seen, cherished. My friends noticed how I glowed when I talked about him. But the strange things didn't stop. One morning I found the bouquet he'd left me the night before. Roses, vibrant and full, completely wilted. Every petal brown and brittle. I thought maybe the heater had been too strong, or they were already dying when he bought them. Then came the mirror. It was in my bedroom, an antique I'd inherited from my grandmother. I'd cleaned it the night before, wiped it spotless. But that morning a single smeared handprint marked the center. Feminine. I held up my own hand to compare. Too big. Definitely not mine. Daniel saw it too. He laughed it off, made a joke about haunted mirrors, and kissed my forehead. I tried to laugh with him. But the air had a chill to it that night, even though the heat was on. And there were the dreams. Recurring. Always in that same broken room. Always that same whisper. He said he loved me too. I should have said something. Should have told him. But how do you bring up the feeling that something other is watching you fall in love? So I buried it. I told myself it was my imagination. A guilty trick of the subconscious. Or maybe, a part of me so scarred by past betrayals that it couldn't accept something good. Daniel made me believe in the future again. In stability, in home. I wasn't ready to give that up for a few broken flowers and flickering lights. But as I'd come to learn, some love stories don't begin with forever. Some begin with a curse. The first time I couldn't move, I thought I was dying. I woke up in Daniel's bed, the room dark and still. My eyes were wide open, but my body was frozen, stiff and unresponsive. A heavy pressure sat on my chest. I tried to scream, but my voice stayed trapped inside me. That's when I heard it. A whisper. Right against my ear. He's mine. The paralysis broke a second later. I gasped, bolted upright, heart racing, soaked in sweat. Daniel was sound asleep beside me, undisturbed. I wanted to wake him, but what would I say? that a disembodied voice claimed him like property. I told myself it was stress, nightmares, but deep down I knew better. The following days brought more signs. A sickly sweet smell would rise in Daniel's apartment when we were alone, like flowers left too long in water, rotting at the stems. Sometimes it smelled like soil, damp and sour. Once it was decay, sharp and unmistakable, like something dead had passed through. Daniel noticed the smell too. He changed the air filters, cleaned the fridge, even checked the vents. Nothing helped. Then came the voices. First it was just my name. Faint, barely audible, like wind rustling through broken windows. Then more urgent. Don't trust him. He's lying. He did it to me too. I began searching for answers, grasping for reason. I dug through online records of the apartment building, determined to make sense of what I was hearing. That's when I found her. Lena Harper, 22 years old. Died in 1927. In the same unit Daniel now lived in. The article said she fell from the 4th floor. No witnesses. Ruled a suicide. But the footnote stuck with me. Sources claim she had recently been jilted by a lover who disappeared soon after her death. My blood ran cold. I printed the article, stared at the photo they'd used. Black and white, blurred, but her eyes. They looked so familiar. I'd seen them in the mirror. I'd felt them in my dreams. This wasn't just a ghost. This was a woman scorned. And somehow, her fury had latched onto me. The more I felt for Daniel, the stronger she became. The cold spots turned into gusts. The flickering lights became blackouts. My sleep turned restless, haunted. She wasn't trying to warn me anymore. She was competing. I stood in Daniel's bathroom one night, staring into the mirror, and whispered her name. Lena. The lights snapped off. In the dark, the air turned bitter. And in the mirror I saw her. Just for a blink. Long tangled hair. Hollow eyes. And a look that chilled me more than death ever could. Possession doesn't always come with spinning heads or deep voices. Sometimes it starts with love. Pushpin word count. 660. I always thought betrayal would come like thunder. Loud, obvious, impossible to ignore. Instead it came in pieces. Small clues scattered across days I'd thought were ordinary. It started with a receipt, crumpled in Daniel's jacket pocket. A restaurant we'd never been to, dated last Friday, the night he said he had a work meeting. My name wasn't on the bill. Hers was. Then came the text I wasn't meant to see. His phone buzzed while he was in the shower. I glanced without thinking. Miss you already. Last night was perfect. Red heart. The name was saved as Adam Office. But the emoji said otherwise. So did my gut. I didn't say anything right away. I wanted needed to believe I was wrong. But the truth has a way of rotting through silence. I asked him directly 2 days later. Calmly, naively. Daniel, are you seeing someone else? He laughed. Not kindly. More like I'd insulted him. Are you serious? He said. Where's this even coming from? I mentioned the text. The receipt. His sudden coldness. His late nights. He turned it all back on me. You're paranoid. You've been acting strange for weeks. Talking about ghosts and dreams. Maybe you're losing it. Felt like I was. But not because of spirits. Because of him. That night, after he stormed out, the house changed. Felt angry. The temperature dropped so fast I could see my breath. I stood in the kitchen, arms wrapped around myself, and every light bulb above me shattered, one by one. Not in a pop. In a scream. Glass rained down like fury. I didn't flinch. Whatever was in this house, whatever Lena had become, she wasn't just haunting me anymore. She was feeding off me. Fuss. I stumbled into the bathroom, needing to see my own face to know I was still real. And that's when I saw her. Not in a dream. Not as a shadow. In the mirror. Standing right behind me. She didn't move. Just stared. Her skin was pale, waterlogged. Her dress torn, heavy with dirt. Her eyes black. Not with color but with emptiness. I turned around, breath caught in my throat. No one there. Turned back. She still was. This wasn't a ghost story anymore. It was personal. She wasn't hiding. Not now. Not after what he did. And maybe I didn't want her to. That night I sat in bed, alone, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders while frost gathered on the windows from the inside. My tears had dried. My love had soured. And Lena, she stayed. Always just a step behind the reflection. Watching. Waiting. Not for him. For me. Because we both knew something now. Heartbreak like this doesn't go unanswered. Not in this life. And not in the next. That I used to fear the dark. Now I fear the moments it doesn't come. When the lights flicker but never go out. When the silence is too sharp, like it's holding its breath. Because that's when she's closest. After that night in the mirror, Lena. Yes, I know her name now. Made herself known in new ways. More direct. Less subtle. The first message came the next morning. On my bedroom wall. Written in the fog of the window. I was you. I stared at it until the letters disappeared in the rising heat of the sun. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I didn't even cry. Instead I whispered, "What did he do to you?" That night she answered. Not in words, but in images, scenes that played behind my eyes when I slept. Lena laughing with a man. Holding hands. Waiting by a phone that never rang. Reading a letter then collapsing. Water. So much water. Her face disappearing beneath it, hair floating like silk. She hadn't left this world because she wanted to. She was shoved out by heartbreak. And something in this building, this air, this pain, kept her here. The next week, Daniel's world started to unravel. His favorite framed photo of us. Shattered, the glass splintered across his bedroom floor. His electric razor turned on by itself and buzzed for hours while he slept. His dog, a sweet golden retriever who loved everyone, began growling at him. Low, guttural, every time he entered a room. She's doing this, I whispered to myself. She's not letting him go. But I didn't know if it was protection or possession. Lena wasn't just angry. She was invested. Me. One night I found my journal open. Pages flipped to a sketch I barely remembered drawing. A woman in water, screaming silently. Eyes wide with betrayal. In the corner, in handwriting that wasn't mine, were the words. He broke me too. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not fear. Recognition. Daniel stopped calling after a while. I think he could feel it too. The air in his apartment turning thick. Heavy with regret. Or maybe just haunted. One night he left me a voicemail. I think I'm losing it, he said. Things keep a-happening. I hear footsteps. My lights won't stay on. I know you're mad, but... Are you doing this? He still didn't understand. Still thought everything revolved around him. He never imagined the women he broke might carry more weight than he could bear. Sometimes I felt afraid. When Lena's energy surged too hot, too wild. Like when my bookshelf tipped over without warning. Or when my reflection moved just a second slower than I did. But more often, I felt protected. I started speaking to her in whispers. In mirrors. In dreams. I asked her what she wanted. She never answered clearly. But every time I asked, I'd wake up with a new image burned into my mind. Daniel. On his knees. Alone. Begging something invisible to stop. I wasn't sure if I wanted to help her or stop her. Because truthfully I didn't hate it. Seeing him unravel. Watching justice slip through the cracks of this world into the next. Maybe Lena didn't want revenge alone. Maybe she wanted someone to understand her. And God help me. I did. It started with the mirrors. Daniel told our mutual friend that he smashed one in a panic after seeing a woman behind him. Dripping wet, eyes dark as soot, standing just over his shoulder. When he turned around, she was gone. But the mirror didn't lie. Not anymore. He tried everything. Sleeping with the lights on, pouring salt in the corners, even calling a priest once, though he hung up before they could answer. Then came the crying. Soft at first, like a child mourning in another room. But it would swell, rising to guttural wails that clawed at the walls. No one else could hear it. Not his neighbors. Not his friends. Just him. By the time he called me, he sounded broken. Please. I know you're the only one who can stop this. I can't sleep. Can't eat. She's everywhere. I see her in reflections. I hear her when I close my eyes. She's angry and I deserve it, I know I do. I didn't interrupt. I just said, I'll come over. It was strange, walking back into the apartment that once felt like a second home, and now felt like the mouth of a cave, waiting to swallow someone whole. Daniel opened the door with shaking hands. His face was hollowed out by fear and sleepless nights. And for the first time in our entire relationship, he looked small to me. Thank you for coming, he whispered. I don't know how to make it stop. I stepped inside slowly, breathing in the rot of guilt that clung to the air. You can't make it stop, I said, calm. Cold. Not yet. The lights flickered. Temperature dropped. Behind me, the mirror in the hallway trembled, then cracked clean down the middle. And then, for the first time, she spoke. Not aloud, not with sound, but through me. My spine went rigid. My breath hitched. Something cold slipped through my ribs. And I heard my own voice say something I hadn't meant to say. You thought you could break us both. Daniel backed into the wall, clutching at his chest, as if my words had hands. His lips trembled. Please. I was stupid. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I thought it was over. I thought I moved on. The lights above us blew out one by one. A bulb popped, showering sparks. His TV turned on and off, flashing static, then a frozen image of her face. Daniel dropped to his knees. I'm sorry, he sobbed, hands shaking. I swear I didn't know she would. You knew what you did, I whispered. And now, you live with it. He collapsed fully, sobbing into his palms. And still I didn't comfort him. I stood above him, letting the silence stretch long and sharp. Not because I wanted him to suffer forever, but because he needed to feel it. The ache of consequence. The echo of what he broke. I felt Lena drift back, not gone but satisfied. Now. The room warmed. The lights stopped flickering. Daniel looked up at me like a man seeing daylight for the first time after a long night in hell. You were right, he whispered. You were always right. But I was already walking out the door. He didn't follow. In the days that followed, there were no more shattering lights. No more breath on the back of my neck. No cries in the night. But I still felt her. Not like before. Not a threat, not a chill. Just presence. Gentle. Touching. Understanding. I used to think Lena was haunting me. That her rage had latched onto my love and poisoned it from the inside. But now I see the truth. She wasn't haunting me. She was healing through me. We were mirrors. Two women betrayed by the same kind of man, at different times in different lives. She lost herself to that grief. Almost did. But instead of dragging me into her shadow, she lent me her strength. Her fury burned the illusion clean off my skin. I stopped checking Daniel's social media. I stopped wondering what would have happened if I had done more, or loved harder, or been less trusting. I stopped apologizing for being the woman who stayed too long. And I started thanking the one who refused to let me fall. Some nights, I'd whisper to the empty room, knowing she heard me. Thank you. For showing me who he was. For reminding me who I am. Then one morning I woke to stillness. Not empty, clear. No cold draft in the mirror. No flicker in the lights. Just me. Breathing. Whole. As I made my coffee, something on the window caught my eye. 3 words traced into the condensation. Now you can live. And beneath it, faint as dust. Because I couldn't. I pressed my palm to the glass. Not to wipe it away but to say goodbye. She'd let go. And so had I. Daniel was a wound. Lena was the fire. But I was the one who survived. Years have passed. My life is unrecognizable now. Quiet in the best ways. Full in the ones that matter. I run my own design studio. Live in a sunlit apartment that smells like lavender and fresh coffee. And sometimes wake with no memory of pain at all. But every now and then I feel her. Not always clearly. Just a flicker in the hallway mirror, or a breeze on the back of my neck when someone new gets too close. A sharp coldness when a man says something too smooth, too familiar. I never ignore it. I know what it means now. She isn't gone. Not entirely. She's become something else. Guardian, warning, echo. Sometimes I'll catch a glimpse of her in old records or stories. Urban myths about a woman in white spotted near the building where she died. Teenagers dare each other to knock on the old apartment door and whisper her name. I don't tell them I knew her. That I still do. One night, while cleaning out a box of old memories, I found a photograph I didn't remember taking. Me, standing alone on the pier. But behind me, blurred in the glass of the cafe window, was a second figure. Female. Watching. Smiled. Still looking out for me, I whispered. She never answers. But sometimes I feel a gentle warmth spread across my back, like a hand that used to be cold, now resting in peace. Daniel. He's a distant memory. No one speaks his name with admiration anymore. The world forgot him. I never did. But not for the reasons he might have hoped. Because when I think of him, I remember what he tried to destroy, and what rose instead. He broke me. But not just me. And when you wake the dead with your betrayal, sometimes they don't stay dead.